4.5% on the news. But the fight over big wind is not over, particularly with all the projections for all the power we're going to need to power our lives, data centers, AI, and, just the heat and lights. Let's bring in big thinker Stephen Bird. He is Morgan Stanley's global head of thematic and sustainability research. This is also, to give a little tease to my own piece coming out this weekend, one of my 7 big energy themes to watch next year. What happens to big wind, Stephen? What do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, I think wind, when we think about just what you mentioned earlier, and Happy New Year, by the way, when we think about the source of energy we need for AI and just industrial growth, even electric vehicles, wind is relatively small. It's a rounding error relative, for example, to the energy we need for data centers. The location is typically not ideal from a data center perspective, and the cost, frankly, is high. And the United States does have a massive land mass. So there are fundamental questions about sort of the cost and the importance of offshore wind. So I don't really view it as a primary player in terms of what we're going to need. I look more to natural gas. We'll have some degree of storage. With solar, we'll see quite a bit of nuclear. I just don't see wind as being a primary actor here, to be honest.
I think the theme, and you're the thematic guy, so tell me if I'm wrong, Stephen. I think the theme is, if you build a giant wind farm off the coast of Massachusetts and that powers 600,000 homes, I'm making the number up, that energy that's going to the homes from the wind turbines will then be used for other things. They don't have to necessarily power data centers. Use the wind to power homes and then use the energy that was going to power the homes to power the data centers. That, anyway, is the argument that they would make.
Yeah, and I just don't find it compelling because when you look at the Northeast, there's very little data center activity compared to other parts of the United States. A big part of that is cost of power. If you look at the overall cost of power in the Northeast, it's just much higher.
Yep.
Total volume of available power is quite limited, even with some degree of offshore wind coming online. So I just don't find that very compelling. When you look at the average cost, for example, in the state of Texas for power versus, say, Massachusetts, it's just much lower in Texas. And I think that's a big driver for why we're seeing so much more data center activity down in Texas.
By the way, as you said that, I just looked at the Boston power grid because it's all online and I'll post it. A couple percent of their renewables power right now is coming from trash. They're literally burning trash. Do you see any indication besides Texas that other parts of America are getting, I don't want to say smarter about energy because a lot of people disagree with that theme, but that they're starting to have this energy realization that they're going to need more power from somewhere, and that could benefit the nuclears and, dare I even say, the natural gases of the world?
I do. What I see a lot is awareness of overall power bills. I think a major theme of the 2026 election will be affordability, and customer utility bills are a huge part of that discussion. In the election we saw in November, states like New Jersey, Virginia, Pennsylvania, power bills were a major area of focus. So when you take a hard look at the approach to getting power bills low, it tends to involve natural gas, but not just natural gas. In many situations, solar is very low cost, energy storage is dropping, and then I am optimistic at the turn of the decade that nuclear will fall in cost and will be a big part of the solution as well. So to your question, I see immense political focus on affordability. I think, frankly, that's healthy.
I think it's my number. By the way, again, preview to my piece coming out this weekend. Number one risk is that political pushback against data centers. Apollo Global, you might have heard of them, sort of semi-competitor to you, so I won't bring them up. I want to pivot, Stephen, to a topic, of course, that we've talked about a lot, the AI revolution. Listen to this. Earlier this week, we spoke to the CEO of Planet Labs. As you probably know, they recently partnered with Google on a project to build, or at least explore building, data centers in space. Here's what he said.
When launch costs come down a certain amount and those satellite costs come down a certain amount, eventually it's cheaper to put compute centers in space. In principle, you get free power, free cooling in space. The only challenge is that it costs a lot to build the satellites and launch them.
Now, this all comes as your team projects a 47 gigawatt cumulative shortfall in power demand versus supply. Again, for our audience, put in perspective, 1 gigawatt of power, very roughly about 700,000 to 800,000 mid-sized American homes. So you look at that, what is that, 30 million homes a shortfall?
That's right.
Do you expect data centers in space and relatively soon?
I think we will see data centers in space. We are bullish that the unit cost of getting, anything sent to space essentially are going to drop dramatically. I agree with the points on cooling. I do think it makes a lot of sense. That said, the companies I talk to, they're not waiting. They're pursuing all of the above. And I have to say, it's sort of a race of innovation to see whether data centers in space or fuel cells or natural gas or Bitcoin conversions, which will get us there the fastest. I am pretty encouraged by just the land-based solutions that I'm seeing. Pretty impressive stuff in terms of just, innovative approaches to getting that electricity to data centers much more quickly.
If this happens, Stephen, and I hope it does soon in our lifetimes, you look up and you're like, oh, that's a data center, through a telescope, of course. Who's going to win?
Well, I'd say the big space players, you would imagine, would be a big part of this. I also think the hyperscalers would win in the sense that what they desperately need is more compute. One big theme we see is the demand for compute looks like practically a straight line up. It is growing so quickly. So the AI adopters, AI enablers, they just need more compute. So we can actually get data centers in space at low cost. I think that's a big advantage for everybody across the AI ecosystem, except for the land-based AI infrastructure players. That would clearly be a negative for them because the perception is you don't need to spend these large premia on these land-based solutions if you can get data centers in space.
And then you wonder, if we get data centers in space and they work, what happens to all the data centers we're currently building and we talk about every day? But we'll save that for another segment because we have to go. Stephen Bird, have a great weekend. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's get now over to Stephen Kovac for a CNBC News update.
Hey, Brian. Yeah, Russia is denying involvement in an attack on a multi-story apartment building today in eastern Ukraine. Ukrainian officials, they say at least 25 are injured, but Russia's defense ministry claimed the reports are untrue. And they suggested the blasts have been caused by the detonation of Ukrainian ammunition. The ministry also accused Ukraine of trying to distract from a Ukrainian strike on a hotel on New Year's Eve that killed nearly 30 people. Meantime, Saks Global announced today its CEO Mark Metrick is stepping down amid reports the retailer is struggling and preparing to file for bankruptcy. Metrick has been with the company for nearly 30 years and led Saks' 2024 merger with Neiman Marcus. A federal appeals court delivered a win to Paramount today, ruling Top Gun Maverick did not infringe on the 1983 article that inspired that original Top Gun movie. The family of the writer argued the 2022 blockbuster shared plot, characters, and themes with the article, even after they terminated their license with the studio in 2020. The court, however, said the sequel was, quote, largely dissimilar from the original article. Brian, back over to you.
Did you see it? I haven't seen it.
I have not seen the sequel, only the original.
We're the two guys.
Probably the two only men in America who have not seen it.
Talk to me, Kovac. All right, Steve, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I got something to do this weekend, I guess. All right, coming up, the best performing city for the stock market, the big reveal of our 2025 Power City Index winner is next.
When Betty and George turned 50, they figured out that switching 2 unlimited lines from big wireless to consumer cellular could save people up to $600 a year. So they made the switch and started splurging on date night, and it became their favorite night. No, don't you dare. It's an acquired taste. If you're over 50, get 2 unlimited lines for $30 each. And right now, get your second month free. Call Consumer Cellular.
If it were possible to discover in advance which stocks were set to go up and which were poised to crash, would you want to know? Check it out. On August 22nd, 2024, I told viewers that the road to artificial general intelligence was already bringing massive changes to society and disrupting industries around the world. So I recommended buying a group of stocks that I believed would benefit, including these. Then I set to sell a group of stocks before they got wiped out on the road to AGI, including these 3. Here's what's happened to these stocks since. The 3 buys all beat the market by more than 5-fold, while these 3 sell recommendations fell an average of 26%. My name is Eric Fry, and I've been issuing sell this, buy that recommendations for 30 years. In fact, knowing what to buy and what to sell at the same time is what earned me the title of America's top trader in a head-to-head competition against Wall Street's most well-known investing legends. It's how I've also notched more than 40 stock recommendations and counting that have gone on to soar more than 1,000%. In the next 12 to 24 months, my research shows America will endure an age of chaos that will make the stock market more difficult to navigate than any other period of your lifetime so far. Large, reliable companies will crumble, while smaller, little-known firms will dominate. And it all begins with my controversial recommendation to sell NVIDIA now. In its place, I recommend buying a little-known AI player whose hardware is in such hot demand that you can find up to 8 miles of it inside a single AI data center. I put together a presentation for you right here that gives you a total of 7 stock investment ideas completely free. I've never given away this much research at no cost before, so take advantage of it while you can still get into these companies at great prices. Visit the website on your screen or simply open the camera on your phone and point it at the QR code right here to see the names, tickers, and my full analysis while you still can.
Critics' Choice Awards coverage starts Sunday at 5 when the supernovas of fashion pose for the Glambot.
I am feeling great right now.
After the carpet comes the celebration. The Critics' Choice Awards hosted by Chelsea Handler. Curtain goes up Sunday at 7 on E! and USA.
2:45 here on the East Coast. Time for our big reveal. Which city or metro area won the stock market in America in 2025? We showed you on Wednesday it was nearly too close to call, but there can be only one winner. So let's count you down 3-1, the top 3 cities and areas for the stock market in America vis-a-vis our Power City Index. The third best metro area, Washington, D.C. Its PCI had a median return of 16.8% over the past 12 months, led by big gains in RTX, Capital One, General Dynamics, and more. Obviously, defense spending, one of the big market themes of 2025's, and those stocks reflected it. The second best area for the stock market, not a city at all. It's a metro area known around the world. It's Silicon Valley. The 12 biggest companies in our Power City Index in the Palo Alto and San Jose region had a big 20.2% median return this year. 3 of the 4 A's powered the gains. That would be AppLovin, Alphabet, and Applied Materials. In fact, only ServiceNow fell in the Silicon Valley Power City Index, but the decline big enough to bring the median return down. And your king of the stock market in 2025 is the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. It narrowly topped Silicon Valley, and Charlotte's 12 biggest companies posted a median return of 21.1%. You had big gains from Albemarle, Curtiss-Wright, Nucor, SPX, and Bank of America. So a big congratulations to Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, even the Panthers are good in football this year. So everything is kind of looking up. The top city in your Power City Index for 2025, Charlotte, North Carolina. By the way, second time in a number of years, a North Carolina city has won the competition. If you remember, because this is our 10th year doing this, Raleigh was the top city a few years ago, which, by the way, lines up very nicely with CNBC's and Scott Cohn's top states for business. Charlotte, congrats, and I certainly hope that all of you are benefiting from those stock gains. All right, coming up, we're going to talk cars and also ask if robot cars, or just robots, are the real secret to Tesla investors' future.
Today's digital world is
Tesla hitting a critical moment. The company just reported fourth quarter production and delivery numbers. And for the second year in a row, Tesla reported an annual decline in fourth quarter deliveries. They fell about 16% year over year. Full year deliveries down about 9%. The focus now shifts forward, though. The company expanding beyond EVs. Let's talk about it. Phil LeBeau joining us now. Phil, the numbers weren't great. The stock not taking a huge hit. Are investors kind of largely looking past the automobile, or maybe the human driver automobile for Tesla?
Sure. Well, certainly with regard to the numbers for the fourth quarter, they are. I mean, look at these numbers. This was expected to be a lackluster quarter and a lackluster year, and that's what we got. 418,227 vehicles delivered. That was down compared to what the estimate was going to be 426. Tesla said it might be around 422. Regardless, they were not good numbers. 2025, 1.63 million vehicles were delivered. Again, that's a decline compared to 2024. Second straight annual drop for Tesla. And in terms of annual deployments of energy, this might be the bright spot within all the news from Tesla today. It was up 48.7%. Look at this. This has been a bright spot that has not gotten a lot of attention, Brian, in terms of where Tesla has been. And when you look at where they are, this is expected to grow maybe not 49% in 2026, but we know the story there. There's demand for energy, and Tesla is taking advantage of that demand with their energy deployments. Remember, as you take a look at shares of Tesla, we will get their fourth quarter earnings and, more importantly, commentary from Elon Musk on January 28th after the bell. And he's likely to talk not about deliveries, not about the conventional auto business, if you will, or EV business, if you will. He's going to talk about what he believes are the drivers of growth in the future for Tesla. And this is the reason the stock was up almost 20% last year. You've got the robotaxi rollout. Regardless of the fact that it is not going as fast as many thought it might, people are still optimistic that they will continue growing and growing at a quick pace in 26. Cybercab production begins to ramp up maybe in the middle of the year. And then you have the Optimist robot development. Everybody's all over the map on this. Some people are saying his estimate of 1 million robots by 2030 is ridiculous. Others who are saying if Elon can do it, he'll do it. So why not buy into it? Finally, take a look at shares of Tesla and GM. And the reason we're showing you this, Brian, we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks. GM outperformed Tesla purely as an investment in 2025. And I know whenever I show this chart or talk about this in the last month, I will get these texts from people saying, yeah, but go back and look at Tesla over the last 5 years. That's not the point here. The point is this was a great year, or 25 was a great year for investors in General Motors. Does that continue? We'll find out on Monday what their Q4 numbers look like in terms of sales. And 26, by the way, Brian, is expected to be maybe slightly higher in terms of total auto sales, though most people believe we're going to continue to see things pull back a little bit.
Is there anybody out there that's saying that Tesla's pretty much locked up the EV market with a little Rivian and maybe Lucid on the side? You sprinkle in a couple of Silverado EVs. We know that Ford's having their problems. And that kind of Detroit should maybe leave the EV market to Tesla and a little bit of Rivian and some others and focus on Tahoes and Expeditions? Is that a growing
Well, they clearly
theme?
are. To an extent, Brian, to an extent they are. They are pivoting more towards internal combustion engine vehicle development and production, ramping that up and de-emphasizing EV production. But let's be clear here. GM, Ford, and Stellantis as well, they're not giving up on EVs altogether. Do they expect them to be major growers in profit areas in the next 4 years? No. But you and I know how this works. The EV is not going away. There may come a point where the EV comes back into vogue, where people will want it again. I don't know when that might be. Might not be this decade, but it could be this decade, could be 29. And GM, Ford, and Stellantis, and others, they want to be prepared when the pendulum swings back, if it swings back.
Well, Stellantis is swinging back. Aren't they bringing back that giant engine Ram? It's like the Ford Raptor competitor?
Sure. Yes. It's a great halo vehicle, and it's a niche vehicle, but people will buy it. There will be buyers for that vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, no one. Phil LeBeau, great stuff. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, coming up, it is the end of an era. Warren Buffett stepping down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. What he told Becky Quick about his legacy. Next.